Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I'm on East Monument Street, just off of Broadway, just west of the Hopkins Medical Complex, if you know where that is. And behind me is the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center. It's been here for 75 years. It's been a city historic landmark since 2017, and it's what we're going to talk about today. I'm thrilled I'm going to be joined by a gentleman named Ronald Miles, who is president of the RJY Chick Webb Council. Mr. Miles has been a long-time advocate for the Recreation Center through thick and through thin, I can attest. What I thought would do is I'd say a word about Chick Webb, the man, the drummer, then turn it over to Mr. Miles to talk about how we got a recreation center here and what's going on today, both of which are fantastic stories. So let's jump in back to the early 1900s. William Henry Webb was born here in East Baltimore. The census records seem to indicate maybe 1905. His tombstone says 1909, so there's a little bit of a mystery there, but regardless, early 1900s. He was born here. His father died when he was young. Also when he was young, he fell down a flight of stairs and injured his spine, which led to lifelong problems and eventually led to his death. But he was an energetic youngster. He apparently dragged out his mother's pots and pans from his homes here, one on Ashland Avenue, and would bang away on the sidewalks here. Eventually, as a paper boy, he earned enough money and with the help of his mother got mail order drums, so real drums. He got his first paying gig at age 11, and then as a young teenager, he was playing on steamships on the Chesapeake Bay, dinner cruises and whatnot. At age 17, he moved to Harlem to find fame and fortune. It didn't come immediately. I think he moved with just his drums and a few dollars in his pocket, worked teaching drum lessons, but eventually made a name for himself, played at all the big clubs, the Cotton Club, the Savoy, and eventually formed a band that became known as the Chick Webb Orchestra. Webb was the drummer, was the band leader, and was the composer. He never learned to read music, so he did it all by ear and by memory, which was pretty impressive, obviously. In an era where the bands would compete for titles, Chick Webb and his orchestra were routinely crowned the King of Swing, out-competing the likes of Dizzy Gillespie and Benny Goodman in one memorable Battle of the Bands contest, 1937 at the Savoy. 5,000 people packed the house, and it was Chick Webb versus Benny Goodman. Benny Goodman was great. Chick Webb was greater. The applause made him the reigning King of Swing. The drummer for Dizzy Gillespie, a legend in his own right, Gene Krupa, said this about that night. He said, "I will never forget that night. Chick Webb cut me to ribbons." So pretty much the highest compliment you could get. Chick Webb was obviously a fantastic drummer. He was also a pretty good eye for talent. A young 16-year-old girl was rising up in New York at the time, and he gave her a place with his band. That young woman was named Ella Fitzgerald. Together they sang one of the most famous songs that Webb ever did, was A Tisket, a Tasket. And eventually, after Webb's death, Ella Fitzgerald took over his band for a while. Webb's life was energetic, but unfortunately tragically short. In his middle and late 20s, his spinal injuries came back in a big way. He came here to Baltimore, had surgery at Hopkins, but that did not do the trick. He eventually died at around age 30. Before he died, he had promised he would perform a memorial concert to help with an effort that was underway in the community to build a recreation center, especially for the youth here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ronald Miles to tell the story of how we got a recreation center. Ron, we're all yours.
Yes, I'm Ron Miles. I'm the president, founder, CEO of the RJY Chick Webb Council. That is a 501c3 organization. But I want to let you know here, the Chick Webb Rec Center, it was Chick Webb's death wish. Although we had a lot of stuff going on here in Baltimore, you know that the center's public facilities didn't get desegregated until about 1954. But the black community was definitely up in arms. So the YMCA and the city of Baltimore financially couldn't put a public recreation center for blacks in Baltimore. But it was Chick Webb's death wish, in that what he had said to Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young, because all of the philanthropy that he had done up in New York, he indicated that he wanted something, a place for black kids in Baltimore. And what happened in February 1940, more than 7,500 people appeared at the 5th Regiment Armory here in Baltimore. The tickets was $1.15. I tell you, I think that may have a value about $25 today. I'm not sure. You can look that up. But anyway, up in New York, they had the rhythm band, and they came here to Baltimore. So this is really the only center in America that was built not only by black folk, but by nationally known black folk. Those folks who participated in that particular concert was Joe Louis, served as the MC. The performers included Ella Fitzgerald, Jackie Moms Mabley, Duke Ellington, the Ink Spots, the Nicholas Brothers. All of them came on behalf of Chick Webb to help build this center in 1940. Now, after the fundraiser, the war broke out. They then had to put the money in war bonds to help the war effort. After the war, Dr. Young came back out, appealed to the whole black community of Baltimore with philanthropic groups and benevolent groups, and they built the first leg of this particular recreation center. And this was without the help of the city of Baltimore or the YMCA. I think a lot of the emphasis also has to go on the Herculean job of Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young, who was a black physician. And then, thanks to, I believe it was Mayor D'Alessandro, because in 1949, the city did step up and put an indoor swimming pool inside the historic Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center. And I should say this, Chick Webb's death wish was, I want to move our young people from juvenile delinquency to become good citizens. I'll give you a personal here. I learned to swim here. The first A and the only A I ever got out of college was for swimming. It also helped me become a lifeguard in the city of Baltimore. It helped me raise my family and helped me pay my way through school. And there are many more here in Baltimore that has experienced, who had carried out Chick Webb's death wish. Before you have people like Muggsy Bogues, Sam Cassell. These are people you may know who came professional basketball. Many of them, they started right here in the Chick Webb Rec. And then later on in the 60s, the department created the Dome. You may hear that up at Madison Square. So they went from Chick Webb Rec to the Dome, to college, and to professional sports. Now where we are now, as John had indicated, this building was threatened with demolition, and we had a team to come together called the Dunbar Coalition, and we requested from the councilman to put in legislation to make this historic. So we saved this, made it historic, and then the group worked with the city of Baltimore to come up with financing for this particular center. They started construction this year. It's supposed to be a 2-year construction period, so we're looking forward to that. We're currently working on the exhibition in the center, because that's going to be phenomenal. And what we have to think about is that the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center is just not about East Baltimore. When the Department of Rec elevate the founding of how this center was built, imagine how we could take this nationally as a Baltimore City iconic African American accomplishment that becomes known nationally.